I'm Stephen, USSR Robinson, and you're watching Sport Icons. Papa!
Okay, so yesterday, Team Sauerland, of course via Wasserman, announced that Tony Yoka has accepted the invitation from the IBF to challenge Filip Hrgovic for the IBF final eliminator to become the IBF mandatory, i.e. to fight currently Alexander Usyk. Now we know the IBF, they have their rules and they will adhere to them. Doesn't matter who you are, this is your mandatory, you are a champion and you will fight this person within said date. And if you don't, we'll strip you. They've done this so many times to big players in boxing as well, up and down the weight divisions. So the winner of this fight is going to be in a very good place. But of course the IBF currently, because Usyk, firstly he has his rematch with Joshua, but they've not too long ago already had their mandatory. That was Kubrat Pulev. Then the WBO had theirs, which of course was Alexander Usyk. Now it's going to be back round to the WBA. So the IBF, so the winner of Filip Hrgovic, Tony Yoka, the IBF will have to come in after the WBA. Unless of course the WBA still don't order their mandate. In which case the IBF can jump in first. So I suppose the quicker this fight happens, the better for the winner, really, isn't it? Now, I will admit to being a little bit surprised that Tony Yoka accepted the invitation from the IBF, accepted the fight with Filip Hrgovic. Reason being, because he turned it down once before when he was offered this exact fight for the exact reward, which is the IBF final eliminator for the mandatory or mandatory. I keep getting told off, mandatory, however. But it's an interesting fight. As an amateur, or amateurs for both of them, Tony Yoka is 2-1 up on Filip Hrgovic. So these guys fought 3 times. Yoka's won twice. Hrgovic has won 1. But of course, one of the wins for for Tony Yoka was in the Rio 2016 Olympics, the semi-final, where Tony Yoka got the decision over Filip Hrgovic. Many people feel that was the wrong result. Many people do feel that Filip Hrgovic won that fight and Tony Yoka got a pass into the final. Again, in the final, a lot of people felt Joe Joyce beat Tony Yoka and should have got the gold as well. But either way, officially, we know that's all under investigation, so it's subject to change. Apparently, an announcement is imminent on all of this. But currently, Tony Yoka is the 2016 Olympic gold medalist. Joe Joyce, the silver medalist. Filip Hrgovic, the bronze medalist. Of course, there is another bronze medalist as well. There's always 2 bronze. Of course, just because Kalle Sauerland or Nisse Sauerland, or whichever one it was on their social media who put this out, says that fight is next, well, ultimately there still has to be a deal to thrash out. What percentage goes to who? Now, historically, again, maybe they've changed it, I don't know, or maybe it's not going to be the case for this fight. We have seen this scenario before, where 2 people will fight for the IBF final eliminator, but one of them will get 75% and the other one will get 25%, which I believe is unfair. I will say that much, because both of them are fighting for the same position, aren't they? The IBF mandatory, however. So it should be a 50-50 split. The IBF haven't always ruled that. I'll give you an example with Kubrat Pulev. When Kubrat Pulev fought Hughie Fury, it was 75% to Kubrat Pulev, 25% to Hughie Fury. It shouldn't have been that. It should have been 50-50. Obviously, because Pulev wasn't a champion. He was fighting for the same position that Hughie Fury was fighting for. But we'll have to wait and see what happens with this fight as far as those terms are concerned. Where will the fight take place? Will it take place in France? Will it take place in Germany with Wasserman and Sauerland? Will it take place in the UK for Sky Sports? Will it take place in Croatia? Will it take place in America? If I had to guess, I'd probably say America. Probably. Tony Yoka, of course, he trains in America with Virgil Hunter. Filip Hrgovic, of course, he does train in Croatia. In fact, he travels around quite a bit. But I imagine that America will probably be the location for it. Of course, Hrgovic is no stranger to fighting in America anyway, with Matchroom and DAZN. Of course, Filip Hrgovic is co-promoted by Sauerland, Wasserman, and of course, Matchroom, Eddie Hearn. What platform will it be shown on? Would France get a good deal out of this one? Would Matchroom Wasserman DAZN own it? Would Sky Sports own it in the UK? All these kind of things will have to come to the table. So it's not yet a done deal. It really isn't. Hopefully it will be. Hopefully they thrash out everything ASAP. But it's an interesting fight. I'm surprised that Tony Yoka did accept this fight. As I said before, he has turned it down. And I fully expected him to go right the way down until they start hitting Zhilei Zhang or Hughie Fury, because Zhilei Zhang and Hughie Fury, both of these guys would have accepted it. So I am surprised Tony Yoka has. Where does this leave Martin Bakole? Martin Bakole, of course, was supposed to fight Tony Yoka. That fight got pulled because of the restrictions in France. Everybody else was under the impression, I'm sure Billy Nelson, that was under the impression as well, that they were just going to reschedule the fight for a few weeks later. Where does that now leave Martin Bakole? Martin Bakole just either can't get an opponent or he's unwilling to fight certain opponents. I don't know which one it is. So where does he go from now? What big fight does he get? Does he go back to fighting bin men like he did last time? Well, for a guy who's had that many fights, and for a guy who is meant to be one of the top dogs around, if you believe in Billy Nelson, and there's no reason why he shouldn't, then he needs to be fighting Tony Yoka-esque type opponents, doesn't he? Just get that rematch with Michael Hunter. Go fight Hughie Fury. That'd be a great fight. Why not? These are the kind of fights Martin Bakole will. But back onto this one, who will win between Filip Hrgovic and Tony Yoka? Very, very difficult to say. I don't think you can look at the amateurs too much to really decide as to who's going to win. What happens in the amateurs is whatever happens. The pro game, of course, is very, very different. Not massively different, okay? It's not like kickboxing converted to boxing, of course not. But they've both matured a lot since then. They've both had some very, very good, credible wins on their resume. Both have looked very, very impressive. And they haven't just been fighting journeymen either. They've been fighting some pretty solid opponents. I'll probably say Tony Yoka's probably fought the better opponents, in my opinion. Maybe some of you will agree or disagree. It's entirely on you. But when it comes to this particular fight, who will be the favourite in this one? I don't know, to be honest with you. I don't know who will be the favourite, because neither one of them have looked vulnerable in any of their fights. Neither one of them have been chin-checked properly. Somebody's going to get chin-checked in this fight. I wouldn't have thought it would be a chess match. I think Tony Yoka may try and make it a chess match. But Tony Yoka, while he isn't necessarily a bigger puncher than Hrgovic is, of course, a bigger puncher. But Tony Yoka punches hard enough. Don't be surprised if Tony Yoka wins this one by knockout. Don't be surprised. In my opinion, and that's all it is, it's a 50-50 fight. I wouldn't put something on this fight that I couldn't afford to lose. I really couldn't. It's a 50-50 fight. If I had to pick a winner, I don't know, I think I may just edge with Filip Hrgovic, or maybe like a late stoppage. Maybe. But nothing at all would surprise me in this fight. Either one could win on points. Either one could win by knockout. There's so many different scenarios that this fight could present us. It's a very, very good fight. Very good fight. But anyway, as I said before, we'll have to wait and find out exactly when it's going to be, where it's going to be, what platforms it's going to be on. There's all kinds of things to be worked out as well, along as their own financial gains out of this one as well. So anyway, well done to Tony Yoka for at least saying yes. Shame on you, Joseph Parker. Shame on you, Luis Ortiz. And I'm presuming shame on Andy Ruiz Jr. as well, because obviously Tony Yoka is ranked below Andy Ruiz Jr., isn't he? So anyway, that's the news. Filip Hrgovic versus Tony Yoka. Looks like that's next. Great news. Filip Hrgovic finally has an opponent. Excellent news. Drop your thoughts below, click thumbs up, and of course subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next video.